Oh no, I'm currently stranded on an isolated tropical island in Central America, and this place is riddled with dinosaurs hunting me down. Good thing I have my good old Toshiba satellite laptop with Windows ME installed, and a cracked showcase copy of the 1998 DreamWorks interactive video game Trespasser from Windows PCs. It'll tell me exactly what to do in this situation. This drive is broken. I just learned that it is spelled with only one S in the first half. All this time I thought it had two S's there, yeah. Oh, this is Trespasser, The Lost World, Jurassic Park. I'm sure Jurassic Park is one of those properties that need no introduction, but a brief rundown. Dinosaurs have been brought back to life through cloning by this genetic conglomerate by the name of InGen. They open up a theme park, it goes wrong. Started off as a novel in the early 80s before famed director Steven Spielberg, known for such classics as Ready Player One, adapted it into film in 1993. It was a massive hit. The highest grossing film in the box office on its release.
And was for a few years until the Titanic came along.
There were sequels, they weren't as good. And with a big franchise, especially with one in the 90s, from day one it got licensed video games over the years of varying quality, including the subject of this video. Trespasser this is just a glorified tech demo for gaming's first proper physics engine. This had a really troubled development, and the end result is whatever DreamWorks Interactive was able to cobble together for a late 1998 release. I highly recommend watching this documentary from Game Justice that I have linked in this description that goes into the history of this game far better than I could. However, if you want a quick rundown, in 1995 DreamWorks Interactive was formed. Yes, it is related to that DreamWorks, of which Spielberg was a co-founder. However, it was mostly just Spielberg's personal gaming division, him being a self-professed gamer and all. Okay, I don't think that was accurate, as they put out a lot of multimedia CD-ROM shovelware alongside a few quality titles that don't have his name attached to them.
They also published the Neverhood and...
But half of the releases were tied to him in some way, though his input varied. They made two other Jurassic Park titles alongside Trespasser, a tie-in game for The Lost World on 32-bit consoles, and the quite odd RTS Chaos Island that's pretty good. Trespasser itself started development in 1996, headed by former Looking Glass alumni Seamus Blackley and Austin Crossman, who worked on Ultima Underworld. It all goes back to Ultima. They were insanely ambitious with what they were going for. They had the full support and backing of Steven Spielberg to do whatever they wanted, and my god, were they going to take advantage of that. They were going to have a fully dynamic open world, emergent gameplay, simulated wildlife, intelligent dinosaur AI that would truly pursue you, the first ever proper 3D physics engine, a diagenic interface, fully realized control of your two arms like no game other. Did I mention that former Looking Glass alumni headed this?
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
2 years later, having gone over budget and missing many deadlines, clueless executives forced them a specific holiday 1998 release date due to a deal they secured with AMD to make it a backend for an upcoming video card. They had to gobble up whatever they had into something that resembled a finished product. As part of the process, they had to amputate Anne's left arm, lobotomize the dinosaurs, and abandon all their fancy plans. The end result was this, an unfinished alpha that barely anyone could run on their PCs at the time. It bombed commercially, and well, basically killed off DreamWorks Interactive and assimilated them into the EA Borg a few years later, but not before they made Medal of Honor on the PS1. And Seamus Blackley went on to join Microsoft and create the Xbox. But that's not the end of the story. Trespasser's groundbreaking physics engine, and to some extent whatever was left of its design, served as inspiration for many classic games going forward. Far Cry, Half-Life 2 and Doom 3, just to name a few. It even managed to develop a healthy modding scene, trying to bring their ambitious plans as much to life as possible. with that out of the way, it's time to talk about the game itself. How is it, you may ask? Yes, I appreciate it for what it is, but I will not call it a good game. It requires a certain mindset to be able to enjoy it. It's bare bones, clunky controls, and full of technical issues even with modern day fan badges. For the record, I played through the game with just CE badge for as much of a vanilla experience as you can get, while also having bug fixes and having it playable on Windows 10.
The person you're trying to reach is unavailable. Please leave a message after the tone.
Anne, are you there? It's Jill. Pick up the phone. God, don't tell me your mom was serious. You're in Costa Rica? Visiting the natives, huh? Sun, sand, and adventure? My little Indiana Ann, world traveler extraordinaire. Well, give me a call when you get back, okay? By the way, I thought you hated flying.
Auxilio, este es el vuelo CR-17. Hemos perdido poder en mundo todo. ¡Estamos cayendo!
Trespasser follows the journey of Anne, who wakes up on the beach after being the sole survivor of a plane crash and is stranded on Site B, an island enclosure that InGen used for breeding their dinosaurs among other things, and the location that the Lost World took place in, which I haven't seen. She has to escape, and that's about it. Really, the real narrative story here is the narration of one John Hammond, delivered by his actor in the film, Richard Attenborough himself. And he does a really good job here.
Parker Hammond. I was born on March 14th, 1928.
Just some lovely delivery here.
A lost world is a sort of scientific myth, an evolutionary scenario in which an ecosystem is isolated and preserved. The rest of the world changes, leaving a tiny, fragile pocket where ancient species survive.
He goes over the history of Site B, his scientific breakthroughs in the realm of genetic cloning, his life and more.
1981. I stumbled out of the helicopter, already beginning to sweat, and looked around at the lush forest, the wet leaves.
About
The
20.
first task was genetic recovery. Acquiring Jurassic or Cretaceous amber, extracting preserved DNA and reassembling the complete sequences. Bringing it up the well, we called it.
Easily the best part of Trespasser. The way his dialogue is given to you is you hear his narration throughout the game. That's it. You aren't picking up and listening to audio logs like this is System Shock. No, you just hear his voice pop up at times. You may think this is only on the player's end to provide exposition, but no. Anne responds to what he says a few times, which leads to questions.
In 11 months, Site B became the most powerful genetics facility in the world.
Whatever.
It's not acknowledged how she is hearing these, but I have a theory. Well, it's obvious that she's just remembering the book from him she read. But here's my theory. She's carrying around a Walkman and listening to an audiobook on it. And that is what happened to her left arm. No, she didn't lose it in the crash. She's just carrying around her Walkman. She needs her headphones whenever she goes out, which yeah, relatable. Not that I go outside, though. I think that's the best explanation considering how dynamic this game tries to be. Which brings me to how this game plays. They were committed to immersion, to put it lightly. No HUD, and you literally control Anne's arm directly with the mouse. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Your health is shown to you by a heart tattoo on Anne's humongous breasts. Giant booms, yeah, I don't have a good joke about this. They're there as a duct tape solution to hide the fact that Anne's model has no feet, as her player model is nothing but breasts and her arm. Anne's noodle arm is what defines this game other than being unfinished. The arm you use to fire guns, the arm you use to interact with the world. As in, you literally move it around by holding down left click on the mouse, right click to grab objects. It is as clunky as it sounds. I mean, something as simple as using a keypad is a challenge with this arm. there really is full control of the arm. It can be twisted in all sorts of weird ways, and you can ruin your own aim by firing your guns gangsta style!
5 rounds left.
Or throw things. Her noodle arm is insanely strong itself, being able to lift crates or entire motorcycles, or fire shotguns with only a single hand. Oh, we'll get to that soon. But next up, box stacking. Oh, so that's what you were supposed to do. Trespasser has physics, a loose approximation of physics. To be fair, it is the first ever, correct me if I'm wrong, game to have a physics engine. And they love to show it off by having you move around boxes, through rocks and bush doors. It's busted if you can tell. This is hard to explain, but from what I understand, and the best way I can tell you, is that each interactive object is engaged within an invisible box that approximates the collision data, and when two of them collide the game freaks out, which leads to results. Just look at speedruns of this game. That was just one example of the primitive physics engine that the folks at DreamWorks Interactive MacGyvered together. Cause yeah, I could go on like how you can't really stack boxes because of how this game handles physics, or how it's basically a rolling cube, I think, leading to odd movement. Like, it's not monkey paw movement put in a cube, but I don't know where I was coming to this. Speaking of jank, I got more. Frequent object clipping, or floating scenery items being a constant sight. Like, I'm not kidding about how many times I saw trees or rocks floating. Sometimes raptors just stand still after you kill them instead of dropping dead. The weird marionette-esque movement from the raptors, or how their bodies contort in weird ways. Oh, dinosaurs. They truly did lobotomize them. They're not the cunning dinosaurs from the movies, oh no. These dinosaurs are pushovers. You can outmaneuver them so easily. They can't enter buildings at all. They frequently get stuck in objects while trying to catch you. The instant you are like 5 meters away from them, they completely ignore you. I think you can easily beat this game without killing a single one, as every level is just requires you to reach the exit point. Yeah, instead of the dynamic dinosaur wildlife they planned on having with various tribes with their needs and predators hunting prey, T-Rexes biting into buildings, etc. There is this. Few herbivores who just wander around. Can't name them on top of my head since dinosaurs were really never my autistic hyperfixation as a kid. 3 pallet swaps of velociraptors that just charge at you and headbutt you, and a few T-Rexes sprangled throughout. While a lot of the combat encounters are a cakewalk, especially at the first half, later on we do get something resembling a challenge. I must admit that there were a few tense counters, mostly when I didn't have easy access to firearms, which brings me to the guns themselves and using them.
8 shots. 10, 9, 8. 6 rounds. Full clip. It was about half. 6 rounds. 10 shots. Hasn't been used. Almost out.
Yeah, that's how you're told how much ammo you have. There's no reloading as well, so once you're out of ammo you just drop the gun on the ground. Using and aiming them is, well, clunky considering the arm thing. I mean, instead of a standard crosshair you have to adjust your arm directly and use the iron sights for aiming. So yeah, oftentimes you'll end up missing a shot. But there's something really cool with the feel of having your gun straight up at the dinosaurs as you pull the trigger on them. It's definitely unique, a predecessor to what was to come with modern day VR titles. The only other contemporary title that did something just like this was Dive by the Sword. Guns themselves are just randomly placed there, always with a full clip when you pick them up, conveniently. There's a 2 weapon limit, and since this game has regenerating health as well, I'm supposed to hate any FPS that does this as a boomer shooter fanatic. But good news, this isn't really a FPS but more of a Myst-style adventure game with FPS elements. Also, carrying around keycards uses up one of the only 2 slots. Melee exists too if you're wondering, but basically what happened was that using the melee weapons led to physics bugging out and killing the player, and the duct tape solution they just made it do no damage, including the dinosaurs. Combat isn't all that common though. Most of the time you just spend slowly walking through the levels with only jungle ambient tree.wav taken from a Sounds of Nature audio library CD to accompany you. And these jungles, they look impressive for 1998. It's mostly the tropical jungle with a few abandoned buildings sprinkled in, or Mayan ruins that are inexplicably there.
1 shot.
And what are you doing? Stop, you're not Lara Croft! There's also this jank LOD thing they tried to do, which just doesn't look good with modern screens like at all. The sound design here is solid. I don't know what to say here other than that they did a decent job, though it is underbaked considering the unfinished nature of everything. Voice acting from Man is fine as well, brought to us by actress Minnie Driver. And like I mentioned earlier, there is John Hammond's audiobook that's coming straight from Man's Walkman. That's the one major highlight of Trespasser. Music is rare, plays in special moments like say Half-Life or Tomb Raider.
Brachiosaur, oldest of our recreations by 50 million years. The only true Jurassic native.
Oh man. He really did it. Now that is...
I assume it was music right from the movies composed by John Williams, but no. During development, they did plan on using his score, but they couldn't secure the access to it. So instead, we got a similar orchestral score from Bill Brown, who also did the music for, let's see, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Anachronox, Shadow Watch, Rainbow Six 1, additional music for Quake 2 and 3, Command & Conquer Generals. What is the timeline?
You alright?
Oh, this looks really interesting. Oh, I just foreshadowed a few games that I'll be covering later on. It's the same type of epic orchestral music. I honestly don't know how to describe it as other than, yeah, it gets the job done. I oftentimes just find this kind of music to just be there. Like so often it feels like inoffensive background music, and I'm kind of tired of how in the last 20 years video game and movie producers have decided that this is the only way to have a soundtrack. In editing right now, I realized that I gotta just dismiss the soundtrack as a whole here. It definitely did sound like I had. The score Bill Brown composed here complements the game here really well, and it's a great imitation of John Williams' score. Having listened to it some more going through the footage, I can say that I do in fact like it. It's an exception to what I said on how so often these tend to be bland background music more than anything. It's just since the type of music I would go out of my way to listen to it by itself, standalone. And my point still stands with this being the music of Hollywood's creative gentrification. So I must admit that might just be me talking out of my ass, along with my limited exposure. The levels themselves are large and empty, This game feels very liminal. They nailed the feeling of being isolated, stranded on an abandoned island full of dinosaurs. They're in furry sandboxes where you can approach your goal of getting to the exit through emergent gameplay and figuring it out yourself like an immersive sim. But since this is whatever they could stitch together over the course of a few months to resemble a finished game,
Silicon graphics.
you're left with something that's not really a sandbox, but more like a pile of sand in the middle of concrete and a tiny plastic bucket. There isn't even
Proper and functional.
box stacking here, so it can't qualify as an immersive sim. It's more like a submersive sim. There's like a few keycard hunts as well. Most notably, there's a company in town level built by low-wage exploited local Costa Rican labor. In here you have to go through multiple parts of town looking for specific keys to access buildings so you can get out of here. There's a few familiar names here from the movie like Dennis and Wu, but the keycard hunt does get tedious, with one of them being right behind a random rock in Hammond's mansion backyard. There is some decent environmental storytelling going on here. There's a few more keycard hunts too, but they aren't as long as this one or the focus. There is this one puzzle towards the end after scaling to the highest peak of Isla Sontra. You have to use the busted physics to get aboard to hold down a button to get a lift to move up, and yeah, it's pain. And after that, the final level. And since a distress scroll.
Hello? Hello? Anyone out there? I need help.
This is a United States Navy priority channel.
And gets rescued after facing off against the Mega Raptor, which has to be the easiest final boss fight in the history of gaming.
The person you're trying to reach is unavailable. Please leave a message after the tone.
And it's Jill. This is like the 8th message I'm leaving you. I'm sensing some sort of pattern here. Come on in, quit being the antisocial and pick up the phone sometime. Oh, and by the way, don't even bother calling me unless you have a damn good excuse.
So that was Trespasser.
Trespasser!
In conclusion, Jurassic Park: The Last World - Trespasser is my favorite tech demo of 1998. I think I made it clear that I have a soft spot for it. It was a trailblazer, deeply ambitious, impressive, a game ahead of its time. Feels like a game from 2004 more than 1998, if I'm being honest. Even ignoring that, I like the vibes and atmosphere that Trespasser has. I enjoyed my time with it, but I would not call it a good game. It's unfinished, busted, and bare bones. A product of insane ambition from incredibly talented developers brought down by poor planning and mismanagement, and the end result is only a glimmer of what they had originally planned. Before I go, I want to give a big shout out to Trescom and the general cult following Trespasser has developed for keeping this piece of gaming history alive, either through making patches that ensure you can play this game on modern systems, or making their own levels, or outright trying to remake this themselves more than a few times, though abandoned early on as these tend to go. I plan on having an in-depth look into the Trespasser modding scene itself and seeing what the community has created. But after trying a few community levels, I came to realize that I didn't have anything to say other than different variations of "this is cool" or "interesting." In fairness, I also struggled to think of what to say about the individual levels in the vanilla game themselves, to the point that I only covered only 2 in any detail. Hey, I wonder what this level called the crash entails. Oh. Along with that, I wanted to try the various development builds that have leaked over the years, but I couldn't get any working. Well, with one exception, but it is a near release build that just has minor differences with the existing maps and a level that was cut last minute. I have no idea how to end this. Try a Trespasser if you're into overly ambitious oddities that were ahead of their time, and have a case of late 90s PC gaming brain poisoning like I do. For anyone else, I don't know if you should play this.